This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the program. And the huge container ship that has been wedged in the Suez Canal since last Tuesday has reportedly been freed. Video posted on social media appears to show the stern of the Evergiven swinging towards the canal bank, opening up space in the channel. The maritime services company Inchcape has also reported that the vessel has been freed.
Yeah, a total of 17 tugboats and support vessels were involved in the last big effort to move the ship. And the company said it was awaiting confirmation of the refloating from the Suez Canal Authority. And the authority announced today morning that another attempt had been made to refloat the vessel at 4:30 a.m. So yeah, the video was shared online. It claimed to show the moments after the boat was refloated. And it's a success story, finally.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the significance of this, the route that they had using the Suez Canal, it's about 10,000 nautical miles, and based on ship's average speed of 16.43 knots, and that was the route to reach for that. The vessel, but it's really incredible to see how many days it's now going to save following the opening of the canal, because if they weren't to use the Suez Canal or around Cape of Good Hope, it would have been a lot more days involved, at least 10 more days for that. But about 12% global trade passes through the 193-kilometer long canal, which connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea and provides the shortest sea link between Asia and Europe. And about, looking at the stats so far, about 369 vessels were waiting to transit the canal over this drama of about just under a week.
Yeah, AK, and of those vessels, there were dozens of container ships, bulk carriers, oil tankers, and liquefied natural gas vessels as well, according to sources familiar with this. What's interesting is what's happening with crude oil prices in light of this news. So they've fallen by more than $1 per barrel. I mean, looking at international benchmark Brent crude, currently it's $63.22 per barrel as well. And about 15% of the world's shipping traffic transits the Suez Canal. It's a key source of foreign currency revenue for Egypt. And prior to this freeing of the vessel, the stoppage has been costing the canal $14 to $15 million per day. So big news here.
Big news here indeed. The teams had intensified the excavation today and were hoping that a high tide would help them dislodge it, and it appears that might have been it so far. But what really got that boat stuck, or that big, it's not just a boat, it's a 400 meter long super ship, you could say, but what got it stuck is they're saying it was the high tides of that day on Tuesday that had made it. But earlier the company had said it was a power outage that had made the ship to run aground. But really, the implications of doing that was incredible. 12 to 15% of the world's shipping traffic transits this canal. It's a key source of foreign currency revenue for Egypt as well. And to have that cost, that Ahmed pointed out, $14 to $15 million a day, that's a lot for Egypt. But that's the latest that has emerged, because deciding to go around the Cape of Good Hope adds about 2 weeks to the journey and extra fuel costs, according to some of the shippers who were evaluating and calculating the added journey, because a note from Maersk, seen by the international media, says it had so far redirected 15 vessels around the Cape of Good Hope after calculating that the journey would be equal to the current delay of sailing to Suez and queuing. So it made sense. So that is the latest that has emerged from the Suez Canal. So do stay tuned to Pulse 95 as we keep you posted with more news emerging. Up next, we shall continue the discussions on the Morning Majlis, but we've got the business headlines for you. So do stay tuned to Pulse 95 and we shall be back shortly.
Pulse 95. Between local lines, notes from the Emirate.
Yes, it's all about being responsible and being safe. And thankfully here in Sharjah, we have a new field hospital that just opened up. The Mohammed bin Zayed Field Hospital for COVID patients was inaugurated yesterday by Sheikh Salim bin Abdul Rahman Al-Qasimi, the head of the ruler's office. Now, the 7,000 square meter hospital features 204 beds, 48 of which are intensive care units, and 156 of which are meant for patients with moderate to severe cases of COVID-19. Now, the hospital employs 75 doctors, 231 nurses, and 44 technicians and personnel to provide patients with the best quality of care.
Yep, and this is a very important hospital to have opened up. Comes 2 weeks after the first one opened up in Ajman, and what we're seeing is the cases that they're going to be brought to here are hopefully will reduce the pressure or the burden on the other hospitals across the nation. And the construction of the field hospital also is part of the country's efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. For the Emirate of Sharjah, His Excellency Major General Saif Azari Shamsi, Commander-in-Chief of Sharjah Police and head of the local emergency crisis and disaster team in Sharjah, indicated that the establishment of this field hospital in Sharjah was provided with all medical equipment and treatment staff, contributes to strengthening the medical capabilities in the Emirate to treat people with COVID-19, ensuring to provide health and treatment services according to the highest quality standards. Now, as far as we understand, the field hospital is going to be managed by Siha from Abu Dhabi.
That's right. And Dr. Marwan Al-Ka'bi, Acting Executive Director of Operations at Siha, said that the qualified medical, technical, and administrative staff, as well as modern medical equipment, are pillars of the healthcare sector in the United Arab Emirates, and that the field hospitals that have been built across the United Arab Emirates are equipped with those high-tech capabilities. Al-Ka'bi stressed that the opening of the Mohammed bin Zayed Field Hospital in Sharjah is yet another addition to the field hospitals that were previously opened in the Emirates of Dubai and Ajman. Al-Ka'bi thanked Sharjah's government for its unlimited support for the completion of the field hospital in record time, and the inauguration was attended by a number of dignitaries and officials as well.
Once again, a reminder in terms of the numbers, His Excellency Sheikh Salim bin Abdul Rahman Al-Qasimi, Chairman of the Sharjah Ruler's Office, inaugurated the field hospital yesterday. It has got 204 beds, 48 of which will be in intensive care and 156 for moderate and severe cases. And then we've also got a team of 75 doctors, 231 nurses and 44 technicians as part of the personnel that will be based at this new field hospital. Stay with us on the Morning Majlis. We'll continue the discussions here on Pulse 95. Up next is another massive development because His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Minister of UAE's Minister of International Cooperation and Foreign Affairs, also inaugurated a new line of production of Sinopharm vaccines. What's happening there? And all of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95. Good morning and welcome back to the show. And a big announcement here in the UAE. China is partnering with the country to make millions of doses of the Sinopharm vaccine. And this is a pretty big deal because it takes the manufacturing of the Sinopharm shot overseas for the first time. So this is going to be a newly created joint venture between Sinopharm CNBG and the Abu Dhabi-based G42. Reportedly aims to produce up to 200 million doses per year at a new plant that will become operational, according to a statement issued by the companies. Production on a smaller scale has already begun at an existing Gulf Pharmaceutical Industries PSC plant with a capacity of 2 million doses per month. But with this announcement, the UAE has become the first nation here in the Gulf to set up a coronavirus vaccine production facility. This makes the United Arab Emirates a supply hub to the Middle East and around the world as well, and also seen as a key move to diversify the UAE's economy.
Absolutely. And also this announcement is an expansion also of Chinese diplomacy in the Gulf region, and it helps definitely the UAE's quest to diversify its economy away from hydrocarbon production. Now, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has just completed a 2-day official visit to the UAE, saying that Beijing wanted to work with the UAE on producing affordable COVID-19 vaccines. And according to a Julfar filing on the Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange, the manufacturing agreement was actually made between Julfar and G42 Medications Trading. Now, G42 has previously said it has distribution and manufacturing agreements with Sinopharm, and it hopes to provide the UAE and other states in the region with the vaccine. And G42 did not immediately respond to a request for more details, but the government, what we know, the government of Ras Al Khaimah owns 12.24% of Julfar, according to Refinitiv data.
Yeah, there was a bit of a tussle, and there was a big competition in terms of winning the bid to be able to produce this vaccine, because we had heard of reports earlier that the United Arab Emirates is capable of producing the vaccines in the country. This is going to be great, because the Chinese vaccine, which has a reported 86% efficacy rate, and the developer has claimed that their rate is about 79.34% based on the interim analysis of these later stage trials. The Sinopharm vaccine itself was being trialed here in the United Arab Emirates as part of our national vaccination program, and we saw a number of volunteers who did sign up for it. This is going to be big news for us. It's also going to be big news for the world. Now, let's not forget the HOPE consortium that we have here in the United Arab Emirates, that is meant to be the hub and a re-export region for these vaccines. There has been a bit of a shortfall as a result of the COVAX scheme after India temporarily blocked the exports of AstraZeneca coronavirus shot made by their own Serum Institute in the country to tackle the steep rise in infections in their own country. So for COVAX, potentially for Sinopharm, given its capabilities of producing millions of doses, could actually lead to more financial and economic gains.
Definitely, and the UAE is also primed to do this. It's overseen one of the world's fastest vaccination drives. Reportedly, most people here in the country received the Sinopharm vaccine. Now, the vaccine that is going to be manufactured out of the UAE will reportedly be called Hayat Vax. Hayat is the Arabic word for life. It's essentially the same as the Sinopharm shot that has been approved here in the country last year. And according to a statement from Sinopharm's chairman, Lu Jinshin, he said, thanks to the close collaboration with the UAE, Sinopharm's vaccine has been now administered to millions of people in the country, the region, and the world in a fundamental step towards defeating the virus. And the deal will also, according to analysts, strengthen the UAE's relationship with China, which have been on the rise rapidly since 2018, when President Xi Jinping visited the United Arab Emirates and agreed to upgrade relations to China's highest level. And Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who's been here on that 2-day visit, said the countries will expedite the bilateral production of vaccines, and that the UAE is China's most trusted partner in the Middle East.
Definitely relations with China, which is a big customer for Gulf crude, basically. They have deepened beyond trade through the pandemic, and the UAE did supply equipment to Wuhan during the early days of the crisis of the pandemic. And Chinese companies have since then collaborated with the UAE on mass testing and vaccine rollouts. And just like you mentioned, Ahmed, the foreign minister said the two countries were now exploring means to work together to fight the pandemic in the Middle East and Africa, the MENA region, including establishing an international mechanism to ease people's travel as well. And he even said that we will work together to expedite the bilateral production of the vaccines in a way that would contribute greatly to making sure the vaccines are available and affordable to everyone.
They call it the first ever made in the UAE Hayat Vax COVID-19 vaccine will turbocharge the world-leading vaccination activities across 205 medical centers in the country. And this plant is going to be set up in the Khalifa Industrial Zone, Abu Dhabi. As part of their joint venture with Julfar, they are able to produce 2 million doses per month in the initial capacity. And then when the plant is officially completed, the production rate is going to reach 200 million doses per annum across 3 filling lines and 5 automated packaging lines. So a very optimistic future ahead for the vaccine production and the big fight against the spread of COVID-19, courtesy of the United Arab Emirates. Stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next is the world of business news, in fact sports news headlines, and then we shall return right after that, continuing the discussions here on the Morning Majlis. And then the fact that the United States might still hold or be able to flex its muscle over China for the next 50 years, according to a study or analysis. What's going on? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, the Sharjah City Municipality has begun a campaign to crack down on sand parking lots in all areas of the city or here in the Emirate of Sharjah. And a video shared by the civic body shows municipal inspectors and policemen posting leaflets on cars parked in the lots. So the owners are asked to remove their cars and use authorized parking spaces only from now on. So such sand lots, referred to as ketchup parking.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Yep.
They violate municipal codes from now on, so it's not allowed anymore. And it's conducted in cooperation with the Sharjah police. Authorities are cracking the whip on 7,500 spaces that exist in Al Nahda area alone, and it has already closed 30 sand lots this year.
Well, earlier, a top official has spoken to local media here, said that many negative practices have been detected in these areas, and most notably, it's haphazard parking. They said that cars are parked randomly and invariably, and they end up blocking the way. He said, quote, "Those trying to move their vehicles call the police and waste their time to address the problem. Improper parking also causes damage to some vehicles, as there's little space between cars as well."
Look, I've not been the biggest fan of the sand parking at all. No.
Yeah.
I do understand. There's a lot of people who struggle to find parking on the main roads, and then they utilize these spots. When given the chance, whenever I've visited in Nahda, Al-Majaz areas or wherever, and there's the option of parking in the sand, I've refused. I've just not done it. The reason being is because once you're in, how are you going to get out? That's a big question.
Yeah.
Because you can't trust the others, really. Yes, people are parking, but people park according to their own calculations. There's no clear signage. And for whatever reason, if someone crashes into your car, it's a bigger case because there was no markings. You were also on the wrong because you were parked in an illegal area. So it just becomes a massive hassle, really, even to claim insurance and to claim wherever you want to. If you really like your cars, if you really like your tires, you need to protect it. Because, parking on these rough areas, or the kacha parking as they call it in local slang of people, of the residents over there, it's just not ideal, really. It really affects your car tires. If you come to think about it, the amount of damage you do to your tires by parking in these areas, and sometimes even getting stuck. I've seen some people getting stuck.
Yeah.
Because the soft sand.
For sure.
What's going on? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Well, Muslims all around the world will mark the second socially distanced holy month of Ramadan amid the COVID-19 situation now this year. And with the holy month set to begin in just about 2 weeks, or so. Authorities across the UAE have issued COVID-19 rules so that residents stay safe from the coronavirus. And unlike last year, mosques are actually open this year, and they will host the special Taraweeh prayers. Last year, residents had to spend Ramadan within the safety of their homes as mosques remained closed as a safety precaution. But we have a list of the new Ramadan COVID rules across the Emirates. Now, general rules applicable all across the UAE. They include Taraweeh prayers. The special prayers they're offered during the holy month. They will be hosted in mosques across the country. Women's prayer halls will remain closed, and it will be, I believe, only for 30 minutes. That's it. No more than that. It will be capped at 30 minutes. And we should all avoid gatherings, especially during iftar. Only members of the same family living in the same house can share meals. Iftar tents are banned all over or all across the UAE. Iftar meals will not be allowed inside mosques. Restaurants are prohibited from distributing iftar meals inside or in front of their premises.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Sharjah in particular, iftar tents are banned. Iftar banquets for groups and distributing iftar meals in front of restaurants, at gatherings, or in front of homes and mosques, cars, or any other means are also banned. Advertising special offers for iftar meals are not allowed. Distribution of free charity meals is only allowed through the official charitable bodies accredited in the Emirate of Sharjah.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing for sure. The holy month of Ramadan, at least there is some activities happening, because last year nothing was happening. Everything was, we were into a lot of a very strict, severe disinfection program as well. But no, this is going to be great, and Ramadan vibes have been kicking in. We received some wonderful parcels yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Hagga Layla things.
Layla, yeah.
I still haven't finished my chocolate, but yeah.
Great mugs.
Exactly, the big mugs and that.
You used it. You utilized it immediately.
Immediately. That's my favorite mug now. Yeah, so thank you to our management and our Sharjah Broadcasting Authority for that wonderful surprise that we got. But Hagga Layla has happened, and everyone is now gearing up for it. This is the time when you'll see supermarkets being frequented by a lot of people. Big shopping is expected for the holy month of Ramadan.
The decorations of Ramadan, they're all over.
All over the place, for sure.
All over the place are being sold.
It's going to be exciting. But for all of you who normally get a new kandura for the holy month of Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, well, get going, because in a few weeks' time, all the tailors will stop receiving the orders, and that's going to be some crisis comms and crisis negotiations that you'll have to do after that. But great initiative, and looking forward to the holy month of Ramadan. And for the Majlis, it's going to be
well, before that, we're going to talk about Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
It's a grand mosque in Mecca. It will be sterilized 10 times a day using 60,000 liters of sanitizing material, as 30 thermal cameras will keep watch for signs of fever among the limited numbers of visitors to keep everyone safe from COVID-19 during Ramadan. And since Umrah pilgrimage it's resumed back in October, after 7 months, pilgrims had to register for limited daily slots through a government app. But on Sunday, Grand Mosque authorities announced the heightened measures for the holy month as well. And social distancing and wearing masks will be mandatory for visitors. Special prayer areas for people with disabilities will be made available, and ready-made iftar meals will be served to worshippers visiting the Grand Mosque for evening prayer. So what we know so far as well is that more than 4 million vaccine doses have been administered to Saudi residents and citizens, according to the kingdom's health ministry so far. So that's just a quick update on what's happening in Saudi Arabia, since we're talking about Umrah and Ramadan and Hajj.
Definitely, and back here in the UAE as well, gearing up for Ramadan. Very, very special month for everyone here, and also great to see the general public's compliance with COVID-19 safety measures and precautions throughout this year so far, and last year as well. So we're looking forward to a safe, charitable, and beautiful holy month this year as well. And we'd like to thank you all for joining us on today's program on the text lines, and listening to us on the YouTube channel as well. And if you missed any of our discussions, we've talked about some pretty big stories, in fact, including the stranded ship at the Suez Canal being freed Check us out on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. Just type in Morning Majlis in the search bar. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be uploading there as well. It's Pulse 95 Radio. Until next time, stay tuned to Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.